Absolutely. As we're talking right now on the Every Game on the Board podcast, sportsmemo.com, we are about halfway through the bowl season, and this is segment 3 of the bowl podcast here, where we're breaking down each and every game on the board in college football bowl season from a Vegas perspective. The first 2 segments are up on sportsmemo.com, also the YouTube channel as well, if you like to put a face with the voice there on the YouTube channel. We do simulcast it there, but wherever you're downloading your podcast in sportsmemo.com, the first 2 segments are up as well. So we will be breaking down on this segment 255-256 Florida State at Arizona in just a couple seconds, all the way down to early look here at the national championship game, Clemson and LSU. We'll also touch on the FCS championship game and all the bowl games in between those. So let's start off at the top here. Tuesday, December 31st. This is New Year's Eve daytime kickoff. 255-256, the rotation number. 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific kick. Florida State, Arizona State. We got 54 being the total. Arizona State, 4-point favorites. We are seeing a 4.5 at Pinnacle. Mid-Major Matt, I'll throw it over to you. We got Pac-12, we got ACC. What are you thinking with FSU versus ASU?
So before we get to the game itself, the general trend here is Pac-12 is 5-1 in their last 6 in this one. The ACC's win over that span was in 2017 when NC State beat Arizona State. The big story for this game is who's not playing, because on both sides you have some massive personnel defections. You've got on the Arizona State side running back Eno Benjamin, who accounts for so much of this offense. He's skipping his senior year. He's skipping the bowl game because he's going to go pro. Wide receiver Brandon Ayuk also is skipping the bowl game, and that's their number 1 wide receiver. So you've got a big chunk of rushing gone, a big chunk of wide receiving gone. You've got a freshman quarterback in Jaden Daniels who's going through this all for the first time. So that's a little bit of a factor here. Last year, Herman Edwards lost his bowl game to Boise State, and he's talked a lot about these extra practices being times to get the young players involved. And when you get the young players involved, you know, it seems like he's using this more as a teaching time than a let's prep for Florida State time. Arizona State's offensive line is one of the worst in the nation when it comes to sacks allowed. Florida State has only 29 sacks as a team, but 19 of those have come in the last 3 games. On the Florida State side, no Stanford Samuels at cornerback, no Cam Akers, he's going pro. No Alex Hornibrook, which is really odd that Alex Hornibrook's skipping this game to get ready for the pros because I'm pretty sure no one's going to draft him. That means James Blackman's got to be on his P's and Q's here. Like, there's no security blanket here. He's got to go the whole game. We're also trying to figure out if one of Florida State's better safeties is going to play in this game as well. His status is kind of up in the air. They've got the new coaching staff with Mike Norvell, but this means Odell Haggins, who is the interim coach, this is his last game. The kids really love him. So, I think we're going to see a motivated Florida State team. In the past, we've wondered, is Florida State going to be motivated for a game like this? The problem is their defense has only taken the ball away once since the October 12th loss to Clemson against FBS teams. They've been flagged 111 times, with 10 or more of those in 4 of their last 5 games. So we know they're undisciplined. Their defense has allowed at least 40 points 3 times, but they've also held 3 other opponents to 17 or less. You know, to me, this seems potentially like an under if you think that Florida State's defense is going to show up, because I don't know where Arizona State's offense is going to come from. Jaden Daniels is going to get his, but he doesn't have his number 1 running back. He doesn't have his number 1 wide receiver. Florida State's offense, you know, without Cam Akers and with James Blackman being very inconsistent, where are they going to get all of the success? So I lean to the under here. I also lean to the under here. Lean to Florida State for this first game.
All right, and sorry for the technical difficulties there, guys. I think we got it figured out going forward. And just to touch up on the end there, Florida State just 2-5 against the number to finish the season, but ASU not much better, depending what the closing line you want to go off of. I'm seeing ASU is 1-4 ATS. So both teams, in terms of a betting angle, kind of stumbling into the bowl game here. You know, we got I kind of like the profile of Herm Edwards being a bowl game head coach. You brought up the fact they did lose last year, because it's kind of a small sample size there and how he'll perform in bowl games, but I could see him doing quite well. I want to find ways to bet on ASU, but this is a game I haven't bet as of now, mid-major, Matt. We got the second game up here, 3:45 Eastern kick here. Kansas State versus Navy. And, of course, Navy minus 2.5 at most sports books right now. So a key kind of number here with laying right around that 3. We got 52.5 being the total here. Of course, Navy running that triple option, going up against Kansas State, Big 12 here, Matt. What are you thinking with Navy versus Kansas State?
So I wanted to go back and look at the last couple times that Navy's beaten Army, because we all know, look, they don't care as much about this game. Navy Super Bowl's the Army game. They had lost to Army a couple of times in a row. They beat Army this year. I wanted to see if there was any drop-off when it came to their bowl games, because look, they actually also lose a week of preparation because of the Army-Navy game. And look, they really haven't dropped off. You look at some of these past years, they beat Army in 2015, and they lost, or they beat Pittsburgh in the Military Bowl 44-28. Of course, they didn't have to go anywhere. The Military Bowls played in Annapolis. In 2014, they also won the bowl game, and then they won as a 3-point underdog at San Diego State, against San Diego State in the Poinsettia Bowl, 17-16. So, to me, it saw a small sample size once again, but Navy doesn't drop off as much. If you look, their defense is actually pretty good, 22.8 points per game, 39th in the country. They're 15th against the rush, 52nd against the pass. They're averaging close to 90 yards per game more than the 4th best rushing team in college football. The key for Navy is they pay it off when they get in the red zone. 3rd in the nation in red zone scoring offense. Only Oregon State is better at scoring touchdowns when getting inside the 20. Navy connects at an 82.6% clip. Why does that matter? Kansas State is dead last in the nation when it comes to red zone defense, allowing teams to score 96.8% of the time. Only Notre Dame is over the 93% mark. And so when Navy gets down there, they're going to pay off a lot of their scores with touchdowns. On the Kansas State side, Kansas State, only one of their losses came against a team who's not in a bowl. Their defense, 27th in the country. They've allowed 21.5 points per game. They're 61st against the rush, though. So I see Navy having some success here. Kansas State is second when it comes to red zone scoring. So if you look at this, both teams all could come away with points when they get inside the red zone. If you look at Chris Kleiman, he comes from the FCS level, of course, with North Dakota State. I wanted to go back and see how often they faced the triple option. Well, there were a couple of years when he was with them back in 2011 when they played Georgia Southern, who was a triple option team. Chris Kleiman was the defensive backs coach, and they actually held Georgia Southern in that game to less than 200 yards rushing on 48 attempts. So they were really good against it then. 2012, he was the defensive coordinator for North Dakota State against Georgia Southern, gave up a ton of yards. They still won the game, but they gave up a ton of yards in that game. So there's going to be some issues here trying to figure out the triple option. There are a couple of assistants on the Kansas State staff that have seen it before. There's a couple that are kind of learning as they go along here. The thing I kind of like here is I think Navy's going to get what they want on the ground, and I think Kansas State could get what they want through the air. I'm potentially taking a look at the over. The only nervous thing about the over is, as we saw with Air Force, the 20-play drive that kills a quarter, and then you don't have as many drives. But I think if Navy could break off some chunks, and if Kansas State could do so through the air, I think the over might be worth a look here because both these teams pay off their red zone appearances with touchdowns, or at least field goals for the most part.
Yeah, Matt, you bring up some great angles there, man. One, when a lot of people look at defending the triple option, they look at the head coach, maybe the defensive coordinator, and they are important. But a lot of it is the position coaches, really any angle you can get with success in any of the defensive coaches can be used as a handicapping angle, in my opinion, to get an advantage on that team against the triple option, plus the fact you get extra preparation time against the option. I look to go against that, the triple option teams in bowl season, but it doesn't always work like that. And we saw it in the Air Force Washington State game. I was on Air Force, and the reason being was there was nobody on the Cougars staff that really had success against the triple option. And you brought that up in terms of Air Force controlling the clock, and you just kind of grind away on the opposing defense. And Washington State had like 4 drives, and we were already in the second half, And that's just a tough thing for offenses, even if they are explosive, to have success. So, I mean, this is a 10-win Navy team, Matt. I mean, look at their losses. Notre Dame, that's a talented Irish group. Say what you want about them. And then the other one was way back on a Thursday night game, I believe, against Memphis. I bet this game. I bet Memphis. They won by 12. They were favored by 11. And I'll tell you this, admittingly, I think Memphis was the wrong side. I won the bet, but I think, Navy played them really tough. This is a team, very close to an 11-1 record, in my opinion. I kind of like Navy here, Matt.
Yeah, and there's an obscene stat I think I saw somewhere that the academies are ridiculous when it comes to covering the spread in these bowl games because, You look at some of the motivation factors in some of the games, and that makes these bowl seasons really hard. Look, last podcast, I gave out Iowa State. I said, I don't know if Notre Dame wants to be there. The problem with handicapping motivation is if the team actually wants to be there, Notre Dame is head and shoulders above Iowa State. Navy doesn't fall for that. Navy doesn't fall for motivation issues. Navy doesn't fall for tropical, going to Hawaii issues, going to California issues, going to the Bahamas, whatever it is. Like, these academies don't care. They fight for our nation. They do things on a larger scale than play a football game. So nothing's going to faze them. And that's the thing when you look at it. Kansas State's offense is okay. They're not great. Navy's defense is okay, but not great. So, that's why I think you're going to get a lot of red zone opportunities here. And you're going to have to hold your nose if you take the over here because, as we said, Navy could go on some 16, 17 play drives. But I just think that both teams will be able to pay off their red zones with touchdowns as opposed to field goals. And I think that's going to help out.
Matt, we got next game up here. Hold on one second. Got it up now. All right. We got Georgia State at Wyoming, or not at Wyoming, in the bowl game versus Wyoming. We got the Wyoming Cowboys minus a 7 flat pretty much across the board right now. 48 being the total. Talking Sunbelt versus Mountain West here, Matt. 7-point favorites for the Cowboys.
So I know this is right up my alley, but sometimes there are just games you shouldn't bet. I'm just saying, I'm going to give you a bunch of information. I don't have a play in this game as of now. We still have another day or two before it happens. It's kind of a stinker of a matchup. Here's what I could tell you. On the Wyoming side, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. True freshman Levi Williams has started the past couple of games. He's been okay. Levi Williams, 237 yards in the 2 games that he's played. He's a mobile guy. He's not a great passer, but he's going to at least be on the ground. The other reason is there's a guy, Tyler Vanderwall, who's the other quarterback, who I really don't like. He's not very good. He threw his name into the transfer portal. And so... But yet there's a chance he's going to start this game, and I don't know how the protocol is. If you're in the transfer portal, do you really get to start? I don't understand. Vanderwall down the stretch completed just 53.5% of his passes, 5 turnovers, no passing touchdowns. He's not very good either. So, I don't understand how he's even in the mix. I feel like it's going to be Levi Williams, and I feel like the offense will run a little bit better. When you look here, both teams want to run the ball. Wyoming is 26th in rushing offense. Georgia State is 14th in rushing offense. Stopping the run, Wyoming is 6th against the run. Georgia State is 116th. On the Georgia State side, they're going to be really happy to be there. This is a Georgia State team that's a program on the rise right now. They've allowed over 200 rushing yards 7 times this season and in 3 of their last 4 games. They're 21st in the country at +7 turnover percentage. The Cowboys are 21st in the country, +7 turnover margin. The other thing to consider here is Georgia State's quarterback is Dan Ellington. He's playing on a torn ACL. He's played on a torn ACL the past couple of games. Now, granted, he didn't play the last game, but look, he's a really good quarterback, and this offense hums when he's healthy, but he's not healthy. And I have to go back and look and see if their pace is the same. Georgia State wants to go, 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 go. Wyoming doesn't. They want to plod. They want to run. They want to kill some clock. I don't know if Georgia State can do that with a quarterback with a torn ACL. It's just there's a lot of question marks here. Georgia State's got 5 receivers with over 200 receiving yards this season. I don't think that I'm going to play this game. It's a very fun one when it comes to the mid-majors, but I don't know. There's so many games this day. I don't think I have to play this game, and I'm sorry if you're looking for a selection here, but I don't have one. I don't even have a lean in this game because it's just one of these bowls. It's okay, it's there, but not many people are going to bet on it.
That's all right, Matt. I think you were leading on to something there in the total, though, that I had my eye on as well. 48, it's not a high total, but you're right. Pace for Georgia State has slowed, and also Wyoming with the Vanderwall kid. I didn't think he was very good either, so I was kind of looking at them as an under team. But, heck, we will see tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern. We got a night game on the New Year's Eve slate here. Texas versus Utah. We got the Utes, -7 across the board. 55 the total. This Utah team, heck, Matt, they were a play away from being in the playoffs, and now they're sitting here, playing Texas in the Alamo Bowl. What are you thinking here with the Longhorns and Utes?
Well, so on a normal September day, I'd love Utah. They're the better team. They've got the better athletes on defense. They're just a tough team right now. But as you said, they were one play away from making it to the making it to the playoff. They don't have their star cornerback, Jalen Johnson. If you look at him, he's getting ready for the combine. Julian Blackman, R.J. Hubbard, 2 safeties are out. Blackman, you saw the difference in the Oregon game. When Blackman went out, Oregon went to town throwing on them. So this means Josh Nurse, a senior, Tarique Lewis, a senior, and Jatravis Broughton are the corners now. Nurse has played in all 13 games, and so has Lewis, but Broughton has not played in a ton of these games. So Utah's secondary is taking a massive hit against a Texas team that really what they do well is throw the ball. And by the way, Colin Johnson's playing in this game, and that's huge because he's one of the best wide receivers in the country when he's healthy. It looks like Renee, who's questionable, he's going to play. Brennan Eagles is questionable. He's dealing with a personal matter, so we don't know what his status is going to be. Keontae Ingram, the running back, is questionable. 5 different cornerbacks are questionable for Texas. You also have to deal with the fact that Texas had all these coaching changes. Look, they got rid of Todd Orlando. Craig Navar is their defensive coordinator. He's the interim coach. The offensive coordinator's gone, so they have an interim coach there. Texas is 108th in total defense. They're 97th in pass efficiency defense. They're 86th in sacks. They have missed a ton of tackles. Yes, they've gotten healthier throughout the season, and Tom Herman as an underdog is huge. I don't know the exact number, but that's just one of the trends that we all bet in college football. Tom Herman as a dog. Texas is 6-0 when Sam Ehlinger hits 70% of his passes, 13-0 the last 3 years as a starter. Utah's only given up 70% passing once this year. That came to USC, but once again, they had their full complement of corners there. To me, this feels like an over. This actually feels like Texas should be able to do whatever they want throwing the ball because Utah's just not going to be able to stop them. But I also think Utah, if they come focused, could find some success here against a defense that's going to have a new coordinator here. I also kind of lean to Texas here. They're going to essentially be the home team. And if Utah's not focused, I think Texas in the rare opportunity to be that underdog, to be the team that nobody believes is going to win this game, I think there's a chance here, especially around that key number, that Texas as an underdog's worth a look. And then, of course, I think the over because I don't know if Utah's going to slow down Ehlinger if he gets time in the pocket.
Yeah, good breakdown there, Matt. And, of course, Texas as an underdog under Herman, great. And Kyle Whittingham, and I mean, in terms of all-time head coaches in bowl games, he has one of the most impressive bowl game records out there. So it's kind of a wish-wash in terms of which one you want to put more emphasis on. I kind of lean towards the Utes here, but I really don't like laying a full touchdown or more in bowl games. This next game up, Matt, we were talking, a little bit about this off camera here, and talking about kind of a sports betting topic, not really sports betting handicapping here, and a little bit higher level, talking about the rotation numbers being off on the Kentucky-Virginia Tech and the Tennessee-Indiana game. Keep in mind, we just talked about a 7:30 at night game. Now, this game is at 12 noon on New Year's Day, yet it's rotation number 291-292. A lot of sports handicappers might not even notice this, but I thought it was an interesting angle in terms of why this is out of rotation number. And one little piece I picked up here on the internet, so who knows if it's really true, but it appeared for much of Sunday that the Wildcats were slated to face Indiana in the Gator Bowl, but after some late lobbying, the SEC switched Kentucky with Tennessee, sending the Cats to Charlotte, where they will play the Hokies. So it looks like the rotation numbers were set, and then there was a late switch here with Tennessee-Kentucky, Matt. Never really seen that in terms of rotation numbers being out of order for bowl season. We got it here, 12 noon Eastern kickoff, Kentucky versus Virginia Tech, SEC, ACC showdown. We're seeing the Hokies -2 in the hook, 46.5 the total here, Matt.
So for the Belk Bowl here, I'm going to be playing the total. So we'll talk more about the sides here. I'm going to play the total in this game. And you'll kind of, I guess, I'm not very good at hiding it, but you'll kind of see why as we discuss this game. From the Hokie side, final game for Bud Foster as a defensive coordinator. He has had one of the most illustrious careers in terms of being defensive coordinator. He has been one of the best. He was Brent Venables before Brent Venables came along and became that guy that he is at Clemson. He is going to have some interim coaches at some of the positions on defense. Really odd that this team has decided to shuffle some of the coordinators behind Bud Foster. They're promoting Justin Hamilton to replace him. He's been one of the coaches, but Charlie Wiles, who's been there a while, he's gone. There's a couple of other guys that are gone and being replaced. So that's something to look here at. Now, Bud Foster's really good, and I'm sure they wouldn't make these changes if they didn't think that the guys behind them wouldn't be effective. One injury of note for Virginia Tech, Caleb Farley, who's their best cornerback, is questionable for this one. He's got a back injury. I'd say he's a must, but when you look at the Wildcats, Kentucky's running the ball 51 times in November per game. They don't throw it. They're only averaging 10 passes a game with Lynn Bowden under center. Virginia Tech's got the 27th ranked rush defense. Over their last 6, they've held all of their opponents to less than 150 rushing yards. 5 of them had less than 100 rushing yards. So Virginia Tech's defense, which is really young, and a team that you should put on your radar for next year, because Virginia Tech, if they bring everybody back, could win the Coastal. And depending upon what happens at Clemson, maybe be a long shot to win the ACC. On the offensive side for Virginia Tech, Hendon Hooker's been fantastic for them. Like, what he's been able to do in terms of the mobility, he gets his wide receivers involved. He does everything that they need him to do. And it makes you wonder what would have happened if he started out the season instead of Ryan Willis, because Ryan Willis wasn't clearly the answer. Jalen Holston's a running back who's been practicing, so it looks like they're going to have their full complement of running backs. They don't run it very well. So, that's a one-dimensional team on that side of the ball. We mentioned it already. Kentucky's also a one-dimensional team. As I said, they run the ball 51 times per game in November. To compare, Virginia Tech's opponents have only carried the ball 28 times per game during that stretch. Virginia Tech, throughout their whole career, has struggled with mobile quarterbacks. You look at Bryce Perkins. He ran for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns in that rivalry game against UVA a couple of weeks ago. So, that's a concern for me, that Virginia Tech is going to struggle to get to Lynn Bowden. Power 5 teams have only averaged 19.2 points per game against Kentucky this year. The other key for this game is you've got the Ray Guy Punter Award winner in Max Duffy of Kentucky, who is the best punter in America, and you've got a semifinalist in Oscar Bradburn at Virginia Tech. So I feel like this is going to be a field position type game. I think that what's going to happen here is Mark Stoops is going to come out with some wrinkles. I think we're going to see Bowden throw the ball a little bit early, because everybody's going to expect him just to run it and just to show that dimension. So I think we're going to see some wrinkles. I think Kentucky comes out and throws it early. My stronger leans on the total here. With regards to the side, the other part that just came out, so I just saw this story. Kyle Tucker, who covers one of the teams, said the 2 squads were at Charlotte Motor Speedway, I believe it was yesterday or 2 days ago, and the Virginia Tech players were cursing up a storm at the Kentucky guys, basically taunting them. The Kentucky guys got in their face, and they nearly had a brawl between the 2 of them. Mark Stoops basically said to these guys, hang back, look, let this boil a little bit, get angry, and show it to him on the field. So I don't know if Virginia Tech angering the Kentucky players with something like that is a big deal, but it's just something to consider here. I like Virginia Tech in this game potentially, but you don't want to piss off the Wildcats, and certainly you usually lean to the SEC in this situation.
Interesting. Well, I mean, if they almost got into a brawl. I didn't hear about this, Matt, but who would that favor? I mean, I guess motivation, but was motivation really a question for either of them?
I don't think motivation is an issue, and certainly the Belk Bowl, I'm guessing there'll be more Tech fans there, although both teams will probably be well represented. I'm just saying, Tech's a really young team. If you look, their depth chart features just 1 senior. Reggie Floyd is their only starting senior on either side of the ball. So this is a really young team, which is why I like their potential for next year, and why I think they have a schedule that's very manageable for them to go over whatever win total they get. But I don't know if I like pissing off the opponent, a couple days before the bowl game here. I just wonder about Virginia Tech against mobile quarterbacks, but then again, I also think Virginia Tech's defense is getting better and better, and I think Bud Foster's going to put together a great game plan for Virginia Tech in his final game.
And Matt, you bring up the fan base aspect, which in all bowl games, it does have a small impact. Growing up in Florida, I never really was around, a lot of Kentucky fans, and then I went to Auburn, and then I moved to Atlanta. I'll tell you, Matt, Kentucky has a sleeper, very, very big fan base. I mean, there is a lot of Kentucky Wildcats fans, man.
Yeah, and they're everywhere, too, and they travel, and the team's good. I mean, well, okay, good for Kentucky, but, why not? I mean, I know Charlotte, North Carolina is not the place you want to go for New Year's Eve, but, it's a noon game. You could theoretically go, fly back home, and then be back in wherever you want to be. I was considering driving down from Richmond to go to the game. I'm not going to, but, it's an easy drive for Tech fans. They could be back in Blacksburg by the festivities, so just something to consider here. I think it's going to be a well-attended game, and I think there'll be a lively atmosphere for this one.
Good stuff. Mid-Major Matt on Twitter at Mid-Major Matt. You can follow me on Twitter at Drew Martin Betts. We're breaking down all the games here on the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, and you can get Mid-Major Matt's service for huge discounts. Sportsmemo.com, his 3-day all-access service for only $29. It's less than $10 a day. We'll keep that active for the next week. So you get 7 days to get down on this. MMM29 at checkout for his 3-day all-access service at sportsmemo.com. We got January 1st bowl games here, Matt. Starting off at the top, 263, 264, Michigan versus Alabama. Talk about two big, prominent programs here. We got Alabama -7, 58 the total. First time Nick Saban's going to have to deal with motivation in the playoff era. And we got they're going to have to win by margin here. -7 versus Michigan, 58.5 the total, Matt.
I'm fascinated that this number hasn't gotten off the 7. Now, I know it's a key number. I know Vegas doesn't want to move off of these numbers, but I'm fascinated we didn't get a 6.5. I haven't seen a 7.5 either direction. So, as you mentioned, motivation. How motivated is Alabama going to be? How motivated is Jerry Jeudy and the Ruggs kid? And, look, as I said, if we handicap this game on a normal Saturday in September or October, Alabama's the way better team, especially probably they would have two at the time and they wouldn't have Mac Jones now. But, on a normal week, the line's got to be what, 10, 12? If Alabama played Michigan on a neutral field, it's got to be 12, right? More?
I wouldn't be interested in betting Michigan anywhere under 2 touchdowns. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So you're getting a price here on Alabama, but of course you're also asking an Alabama team that's used to playing on this day for a different bowl, for a bigger bowl. You're asking them to get up here. A couple of guys are not playing in this game. Trevon Diggs in the secondary is skipping. Terrell Lewis, the linebacker, he's also skipping. Patrick Surtain, who's been banged up a little bit, he is actually going to play in this game. Josh Jobe is a sophomore. He's making his second start at cornerback. Redshirt sophomore Christopher Allen is going to make his first ever start at outside linebacker for this game. Alabama's defense has not been the Alabama defense that we've thought about in the past. You can throw on them a little bit. I know Joe Burrow had a lot of fun throwing on them, but this is not the Alabama defense that we've been used to in the past. The Alabama offense, how motivated are they? As we said, Jerry Jeudy, he knows he's going to go in the first round of the NFL draft. The Ruggs kid, some of these other guys, Waddle. I keep waiting as we get closer for more of these guys to come out and say, yeah, I'm not playing this game. I don't know if Saban threatened their life. I don't know what it is, but I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop on the Alabama side. The Michigan side, the story's the same as it always is. They haven't won their big games. I mean, I know they beat Michigan State, but that's a terrible Michigan State team that they beat. So, you're looking at a Wolverines team that every time we say, all right, this is the chance for Harbaugh to put his imprint on the program, they keep falling short. Redshirt freshman running back Christian Turner's not going to play in this game. He missed the final 2 games of the regular season. Donovan Peoples-Jones and Nico Collins were practicing on Friday, so were a couple of other guys. So, it looks like they're going to be pretty healthy, and it looks like they're not going to have anybody else who's going to skip the bowl game for the pros. Josh Gaddis, the offensive coordinator, is going up against Nick Saban, his former boss. Now, Gaddis was only the co-offensive coordinator for 1 year in 2018, but at least, there's some familiarity in both directions. Gaddis kind of knows a little bit about the defense. Saban knows how Gaddis wants to run his offense here. This is not my wheelhouse being the mid-major guy. I'm dying for a 7.5. I don't think it's going to happen. But then again, do I really want to back a Michigan program that in this situation has come up small time and time and time again? I want Michigan to win. I want them to win because I want to see some success, and let's get away from that storyline. I know people criticize this, but Drew, couldn't this be a perfect thing? If you found enough games with this key number of 7, couldn't you tease this maybe with something else? Teasing in bowl game is very irregular, but I'm just saying if you like one of the sides, but you want to feel more confident. Look, I think Alabama's going to win the game at 7. A 6-point teaser brings it down to 1. Maybe you throw in some of the NFL games in the playoffs, and then you've got something to look forward to. I know it's a little unconventional, and I know there's some pros and some people who will say you're nuts for thinking about it, but I don't know if I like this game at 7, Drew, but I probably would like it a lot more at 1 or potentially more at 13, depending upon the number you get.
Yeah, I like it in theory, but I'll tell you, Matt, when it comes to bowl season, now granted, betting key numbers, betting the right number is the most important thing in sports betting. If there's ever a time in a sport, in a season where I want to have the right side more than the right number, it would be bowl season. So that's the one thing that keeps me away from teasing games. I mean, I'm not a big sports betting teaser anyway. It sounds funny saying that, but that's the one thing that would keep me off of teasing any of these games. But I do see what you're saying. I mean, if I could get a 7.5 on Michigan, I'm likely going to be on that side as well. So that might not come until game day, talking about January 1st here, just because I think motivation is such a key here. And I could see Michigan kind of hanging with them for a lot of the reasons you just said. And we also, Matt, interesting tidbit here. One, January 1st bowl slate is really good. We got 4 games, all ranked versus ranked here. So it's going to be a fun one. Also, Alabama and Auburn are both playing at 1 o'clock on January 1st. So if you're looking to do anything crazy in the state of Alabama, you're going to have a lot of hungover people New Year's Day with Alabama and Auburn both playing at the same time. So you can probably get away with a lot in that state at 1 to about 4 o'clock on New Year's Day, talking Eastern time there. But let's talk about the other matchup in the state of Alabama. They are playing in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, I believe. We're talking the Minnesota Golden Gophers and the Auburn Tigers here. We're seeing Auburn -7 pretty much across the board, 54 the total. PJ Fleck getting his team to a New Year's Day bowl here, talking Minnesota, versus Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn's very good with extra preparation time, good defensive front. Motivation isn't an issue. I'm not too sure. Matt, what are you thinking here, Minnesota versus Auburn?
So the Big Ten and the SEC have played in the last 24 Outback Bowls. The SEC is 15-9 during that stretch, 7-3 in their last 10. Just something to consider trend-wise if you believe in that sort of thing. You're right. I don't think motivation will be an issue here. Look, I haven't watched a ton of Auburn football this year. So Bo Nix, I've kind of read a lot of his scoreboard stuff. I've read a lot of his box score stuff and everything. Bo Nix has been very up and down, it seems like. He has his games. He has his turnovers. Gus Malzahn's actually 2-4 in bowl games this year in his career. Nick Coe is not playing as part of the defensive line. Backup center Caleb Kim is out. Now, you might say, why is that important? He's the backup. Well, he started the first 8 games before being replaced, and it's kind of depth guy that just in case there's an injury and, center, you certainly want to have some experience. Anthony Schwartz and Eli Stove, who both sustained injuries in the Iron Bowl, look like they're both going to play. They were on the practice field on Friday. They should be good to go. That's their number 2 and number 3 wide receivers. On the Minnesota side, Minnesota's offense coordinator went to Penn State, so I don't know if he's necessarily going to coach this game. That's something that's kind of been hidden a little bit from PJ Fleck, and as we've said, we're still a day or two away, so more news could come out regarding that. Minnesota, 51 penalties all year. They've only had more than 5 once in a game. So you're not going to have them make a lot of mistakes, which is going to help them out because then they won't have, 2nd and 10s or 2nd and 15s, 2nd and 20s and things like that. Auburn has about 7.4 penalties per game and have had 5 or more in 7 games. So they've had a little bit more of an issue with that. Another injury to note, Minnesota's right tackle, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name, is 6'9", 400 pounds. Okay. He is a game time decision with a knee injury. They will not have Jake Paulson, who's their starting tight end, more of a blocking tight end. He's appeared in 9 games, so that's an interesting note. I think this is a live betting situation, Drew. I think this is a game where I kind of want to see the first couple of drives here because I want to see how Minnesota's offense look. I want to know if the Minnesota offense coordinator is even there, and I want to see how motivated Auburn is. I don't think motivation will be an issue. If it is, though, and Auburn comes out focused, look, we talk about motivation in these bowl games, and there could be teams who don't want to be there. But if you let them hang around long enough, and if you get them to score a touchdown or two, like Alabama may not be motivated to play Michigan, but if it's 7-7, if it's 7-0, and then all of a sudden some things start to go their way, that lack of motivation disappears because you want to win the football game. I think I'm going to live bet this Minnesota-Auburn game, kind of want to get a feel of how it's going to be, how the crowd's going to be, what's the motivation level there, how loud's it going to be, who's got the edge. So I'm going to cop out a little bit here and say I'm going to look to bet this game live after watching a few drives.
All right, good stuff, Matt. We got Wisconsin versus Oregon up next. Big Rose Bowl here. Big Ten versus Pac-12, obviously 51.5 being the total. We got the Badgers laying 3 in the Rose Bowl.
I'm fascinated by this game, Drew. I think when you look at these two teams, there's so many similarities. They both want to run it. They both have stars. They both have solid defenses. Paul Chryst, 4-0 in bowl games. That helps. Wisconsin's offense has rushed for 200 yards or more in 9 games. They've scored 3 rushing touchdowns or more in 8 games. So we know what they want to do. They want to use the Taylor kid time and time and time again. Oregon's rush defense has allowed over 200 rushing yards once. It's against Auburn. Since then, the rush defense never gave up over 170 yards. They've only allowed more than 4 yards per carry 3 times this season, and they've given up 4 rushing touchdowns. So, that's the matchup there. Does that mean they're going to use the Cone kid more and they're going to throw with him more? So, I think this is another thing where we could see some wrinkles, and they try and throw and establish the pass a little bit against Oregon. Only Kansas State had a better third down defense than Wisconsin over the first 7 games, okay? So, like, this Wisconsin defense gets on the field, and they get off the field. The pass defense has allowed 8 passing touchdowns the last 3 games. They've given up 2 touchdown throws or more in 6 of their last 7. So it looks like it's going to be a Justin Herbert game. Last chance for him to put some great tape out there, because obviously he's going to get drafted. He's going to get drafted pretty high. I think a lot of people are going to remember what he does in a game like this because it's going to have the spotlight. Now, throughout the season, he's had massive injury issues at wide receiver. He's lost guys. He's gained guys. Micah Pittman is going to play. He broke his arm back in mid-November against Arizona, so that's another weapon for him. Drew, these two teams are so similar. I don't really see too many edges here. It came out as a pick 'em really quickly and then moved to the line that it currently is now. Drew, do you see any edges here other than maybe Wisconsin being able to run it and Oregon being able to throw it a little bit?
You know, this is a tough one. This is a great game. I mean, as a fan, I'm really excited to watch it. But you bring up a bunch of good points. You know, same profile of teams. You know, Oregon, I guess, only giving up, you know, the certain amount of rushing yards to Auburn. One that was, you know, week 1 of the season, as I know you know this, Matt. Also, too, it's kind of a different running scheme that Gus Malzahn runs to what Wisconsin runs. So I don't know how much I would put into that in terms of Auburn having success running the ball against this defense. I think Oregon's defense is really good. I think both defenses are going to have some success. If you made me bet it, I haven't bet this game right now. I would look towards the under of 51.5. Sidewise, I mean, I think this is a coin flip game. I mean, I guess I would say Oregon having said that, but I don't really want to bet against, you know, what you said, 4-0 record in bowl games in the Pac-12 hasn't necessarily performed real well. So that would shade me towards the Big Ten team here, Matt.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where the underdog, probably no matter who it would be, is probably where I would lean. But then again, as I said, if you switch jerseys and you basically said, you know, Oregon was Wisconsin, Wisconsin was Oregon, I wouldn't, you know, other than, you know, Herbert's way better than Cone and Taylor's way better than anything Oregon can talk about in terms of running. You know, Oregon relies on a bunch of guys for running the ball. The Verdell kid's really good. I haven't watched enough of these two teams, Drew, but like, as you said, I mean, these two are the same. I would lean with the under with you. I think the under's not a bad way to go. But once again, I may wait till closer and see where the market pushes this thing and see, kind of do a little more research. Still another day or two. Somebody could get hurt. Somebody could say, I'm not going to play. I'm going to skip the game. So a lot of things could still tip the scales either way in this game.
All right, we got one more game here. The nightcap on New Year's Day. Great day of bowl games. Baylor versus Georgia, 2 top 10 teams. Total of 41. We got the Georgia Bulldogs -5 here, Matt.
Who's playing for Georgia? All right, so let's run down the list here. Who's not playing? Starting left tackle Andrew Thomas is missing it for the draft. Right tackle Isaiah Wilson also missing the draft. Starting guard Ben Cleveland missing due to academics. J.R. Reed is missing due to a foot injury, and he's a finalist for the Thorpe Award. Also, starting defensive tackle Tyler Clark, backup tailback Brian Herrion, safety Devad Wilson will all miss the game for undisclosed reasons. We also don't know about DeAndre Swift. He's touch and go with his shoulder injury. You know, if you read between the lines here, it seems like he's not going to play. That they're basically saying, quote, we're supporting him through this because it's tough. If he's not there, James Cook, Zamir White, and Kenny McIntosh are going to be the backfield of choice for Georgia. They've got the number 2 defense. We know how good their defense is. 12.5 points per contest. They've surrendered 20 points or more just once, and that was the LSU game. So we know if Georgia's defense shows up, they're going to be there. Motivation also is a massive thing. Georgia just played in this bowl game, I believe, last year. Like, if you look, Georgia, yeah, they were in the Sugar Bowl, and they lost 28-21 to Texas last year. And this is pretty much the exact same situation because they were about a play or two away from the championship last year. So, like, once again, what's the motivation for Georgia for this game? You look on the Baylor side, Charlie Brewer is back. He's back at practice. He's cleared to play. That's massive for Baylor. And right up there with Tom Herman is Matt Rule as an underdog. And as a Temple fan, look, I've seen what Matt Rule has done to what Temple's program is, and I like what he's doing at Baylor. He has been very upfront. There was just an article that came out, I believe, on The Athletic. He's been very upfront with his kids. Like, He's interested in the NFL. If they come calling, he's going to interview. But like right now, his focus is on this bowl game, and I like that about a coach. He's keeping his kids abreast as to what's going on. Matt Rule's name is everywhere right now. You look, the Giants might be interested, the Cowboys might be interested, but he's been very good at focusing on these bowl games. Based off this number, Drew, there's still some value on Baylor. I just think they're going to be happy to be there. They're going to get a chance at an SEC school here. Who knows if anybody else is not going to play for Georgia in this one? They've got a couple wide receivers, of course, the Blaylock kid who had the season-ending injury. There's just so many people not playing for Georgia in this one. On the one hand, it gives these young kids a chance to play, and they're going to be motivated to play. On the other hand, like when everybody looks around them and sees backups and guys who are not playing, what's Georgia's motivation here? So at 5, look, I would have loved to have gotten it 8.5 when it first opened up because Baylor plus a touchdown and 8.5. Like, I think that's fantastic. Still at 5.5. As you said, there's some 5.5s out there. I think Baylor is the side in this one purely for motivation and purely because I like Matt Rule as a coach in this situation.
Good stuff, Matt. Great breakdown there of the New Year's Day games. We got Thursday, January 2nd games, and we'll go all the way through the national championship game. We're going to go at a little bit faster pace to keep this under an hour. But, guys, we appreciate you listening. Whether you're watching on YouTube, simulcast on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, please give us a thumbs up, the like button. Wherever you're downloading your podcast, sportsmemo.com. Of course, we got $9 Monday at the website where each play is discounted to just $9 on sportsmemo.com. You can find Mid-Major Matt on Twitter at Mid-Major Matt. Myself on Twitter at Drew Martin Betts. We got a couple questions here. We'll answer them quickly as well. But Matt, also where the people can find you on Twitter, great way to reach you, and also what ESPN Radio in Richmond, Virginia, correct?
Yes, ESPN Radio in Richmond, Virginia. Starting next week, I'll be back on the air regularly from 3 to 4, and then I've got a Saturday morning show. So if you're ever interested in betting any of the Virginia schools in college basketball, we get reports from the beat reporters, the play-by-play guys, and certainly if they're not involved with the program, we'll ask them about the spread as well, and that's from 11 to noon on Saturday mornings. All
right, and he's having success in the NFL and also his two main sports, college football and college basketball. Check them out, sportsmemo.com. Get rest of the season, 1 year, all access. And we have a special coupon code here for a 3-day service for under $10 a day. Just $29, 3-day service, sportsmemo.com with Mid-Major Matt. Coupon code MMM29 at checkout. Let's hit the January 2nd games real quick. Boston College versus Cincinnati. Bearcats -7, 55.5 the total here, Matt.
Yeah, going quickly here. I don't like either of these teams, and I probably won't play this game unless maybe it's an under. Cincinnati, I just have no respect for the Bearcats. Like, I don't think they're very good. They should have lost the Temple game at home. Temple did not play very well. They had some special teams gaffes. They won 15-13. They only won 20-17 at an awful South Florida team on November 16th. They only won 46-43. They gave 43 points to East Carolina on the road November 2nd. So, like, this Cincinnati team just doesn't impress me. The Warren kid's a really good running back. I don't like Desmond Ridder. Over his last 3 games, he's completed just 34 of 79 passes, 373 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now, granted, he hasn't been 100%, but there's not a lot to like on the Cincinnati team. Their defense is just okay. But on the Boston College side, Steve Adazio gets fired. Dennis Grossel's the quarterback. He's got just under 900 yards passing. No A.J. Dillon at running back. David Bailey's not terrible at running back. 816 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. Boston College's defense is horrendous. You could throw on them nearly 300 yards allowed through the air. They play with such a quick pace, but I don't know how the new coaching staff is going to continue that or not. Lean to the under here, but I'm probably not playing this game because it's just a dog of a matchup.
All right, and the other game, also the game that was switched in the rotation numbers, and anybody out there that's watching this that might have a little more insight than I do, if you know of another reason why they would have switched the rotations, feel free to I would like it if you reached out on Twitter at Drew Martin Betts and maybe give a little insight why. I've just never really seen that with the rotation numbers changing in bowl season. But 293-294, 7 o'clock at night. Kick here, Tennessee, Indiana, SEC, Big Ten showdown. We got the Vols laying 2 or 2.5. We're also showing Pinnacle -1.5, kind of an indicator there towards the Hoosiers. 52.5 being the total here, Matt.
Some things to consider for this game. The Volunteers will have just 5 healthy scholarship receivers for the first half of this game. Freshman Jared Means went into the transfer portal, and then the Jennings kid received a first-half suspension for a flagrant foul in the fourth quarter of the Vanderbilt game. So you're not going to have Jennings for the first half, so Tennessee's only going to have 5 healthy scholarship receivers. Just something to consider if you want to play a first-half wager. Center Brandon Kennedy unlikely to play after undergoing a minor procedure to clean up his knee earlier this month. Tennessee's, on a nice win streak, but how many of those wins are actually any quality? Like, if you look at the 5 games they've won down the stretch, South Carolina, okay. UAB, not very good. I know they made a bowl game, but, okay, you're supposed to win that game. They did win at Kentucky. That was impressive. If I remember correctly, and you could correct me, Drew, I believe there was was that one of the rainstorm games? Because it feels like Kentucky's last 5 or 6 games they've been playing in a torrential downpour, and I feel like that was one of those games.
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure, though.
They also won at Missouri. Oh, that doesn't mean anything. And then they closed out against Vanderbilt. And so, Tennessee's on a hot streak right now. And I think that there'll be some motivation to play in this game. I think the way Tennessee has played the last couple of years, I feel like there might be a little bit of excitement for this game. On the Indiana side, they've got just 7 players who have previously played in a bowl game. Just 7. And that includes one of their left tackle who has been unavailable since injuring himself in the Connecticut game. So, this is a brand new experience, and we've seen so far some mixed results when it comes to new experiences. You have Charlotte way back in the first bowl game. They played like it was their first bowl game, and they lost and they got blown out. Of course, that was in the Bahamas. But then you had Liberty, and Liberty beat Georgia Southern in their very first bowl game. So I don't know how Indiana's players are going to handle it. Indiana's only allowed 23 sacks this season, 4th fewest in the Big Ten, 2 coming in the bowl-clinching win against Nebraska. Their offensive coordinator, Kalen DeBoer, is leading for Fresno, but he is coaching in the game. They're 5th in the nation in terms of time of possession. So, Indiana holds the ball, and they hold the ball, and they hold the ball, and that's with the 100th ranked ground game in the country. So, they're not necessarily running it to kill the clock. They're throwing it, but these are a lot of short passes here and there. The Hoosiers average an 84.8% scoring rate, 64.6% touchdowns. They have more rushing touchdowns inside the 20 than LSU, TCU, Iowa, Purdue, and Alabama. I kind of like Indiana here. I'm not going to rush to the window yet. As we said on the 30th, there's still a bunch more days for something to happen. But I kind of lean Indiana here. I think they'll be really excited to play against an SEC school. I don't like all the youth on their side. I don't think Tennessee's that great. So I may not bet this game at all, but right now on December 30th, I lean to Indiana, but nothing official.
Yeah, and I like what you said there, Matt, about being the first bowl game, mixed results. There is kind of an angle here. I would call it a sharp angle in terms of first-year head coaches having a lot of trouble over the last decade or so in their bowl games. And we saw it there with the Charlotte 49ers, talking, of course, their head coach, Will Healy, who did a great job in the FCS ranks, but he got to his first bowl game, and Charlotte didn't look good at all. And then on the other side, you bring up Liberty, and a lot of first-year guys in bowl games. But, of course, Hugh Freeze has done it before, and we saw a little difference there. Would you put anything into that angle as first-year head coaches having trouble?
Well, Tom Allen has coached a bowl game. He coached, I believe, the 2016 Foster Farms game, which they lost by 2. They covered the 5-point spread against Utah. And Jeremy Pruitt has not coached in a bowl game. He's had some experience as an assistant, but I don't know. This is an odd matchup, Drew, because you've got 2 teams I think that'll be happy to be there. I actually think this is going to be a sneaky good game. Could also represent a live betting situation here to see how both teams play it out a little bit. As I said, Indiana's really good in the red zone. They pay off a lot of their drives inside the 20 with touchdowns, so I think that could be a factor. And I also don't necessarily believe in Tennessee. But once again, you usually lean to the SEC in this situation. I actually think this might be a really good live betting situation once you get a feel for how both teams are. Maybe a first half under. Maybe both teams play it close to the vest early on. Maybe, first quarter under. I don't know. I don't like going to narrow myself that much. But, I feel like there's going to be a feeling out period for both of these teams. So maybe a first half under would probably be the way to go here.
And that will be a standalone game on Thursday, so a lot of tickets written on that. And the rest of these games will be standalone games in terms of bowl games, so likely a lot of tickets written on these games. And I bring that up just because if you're looking for a key number, if they're sitting around a key number, you might actually want to wait until game day just because these lines will normally get pushed around when it's a TV standalone bowl game. We got 275-276 Ohio versus Nevada. We got a question on Twitter here, Matt, and we're up against the time-wise. Throw it over to you, breaking down the game. Also, the Twitter question here. We got 8.5 or 8. That's Ohio laying against Nevada. 59 the total. This one in Boise, I believe. And shout out to Barley Breath on Twitter with the question. We got Ohio, Nevada in depth. Nevada suspensions all over the field, and history on the blue turf. Of course, Nevada Mountain West team there playing against in a stadium that they normally do play in versus a MAC team in Ohio. Fade the MAC angle as well. Mixed results in that so far. So Ohio, Nevada, I'll throw it over to you, mid-major.
Last time Nevada played in Boise was 2017. They lost 41-14. Can't really look at the results because obviously Boise's been a better team. Boise was a 20-point favorite in that game. And then you look before that, and I actually haven't seen them play for quite a while in Boise State. So that'll be a factor that at least Nevada is semi-familiar, but that also was 2 years ago. The big question is the suspensions and the people missing this game. So Nevada's going to be without their defensive backs, Daniel Brown and Austin Arnold, lineman Hosia Sakuna, excuse me for mispronouncing it. They're all suspended because of what happened in the melee in the overtime loss to the UNLV. They're going to be without Gabriel Sewell for the first half. So these are all important players when it comes to a Nevada defense that is not great to begin with. Now, down the stretch, they put some decent efforts out there. Also questionable for this game, 6-year linebacker Lucas Weber. He's been out the second half of the season with a broken ankle. Now, granted, he's been out the past couple of games, but he's still an important piece. The other questions here are, the Nevada's changing up their defensive staff, okay? They're going to have interim coaches. Jody Sears, Josh Brown, and former Nevada assistant John Landwehr are all joining the staff, and they're replacing 3 defensive coaches who were not retained earlier this month. I don't like that. It's certainly, if you don't have a lot of your stars and you don't have your coaching staff in place, that's not good for your defense. On offense, Romeo Dubs, the wide receiver, is questionable due to a shoulder injury. He missed the UNLV game. He's had 20 receptions and 3 touchdowns the last 3 games played. Nevada's first 8 opponents won 51% of their games. Their last 4 opponents have won just 40% of their games, hence why they went 3-1 down the stretch. So there's some things to like about Nevada, but there are a ton of question marks on that side of the ball. Ohio, they bucked the trend, with regards to don't bet on the MAC. Like the last 2 years, they won 68-6. Now, granted, they beat UAB and San Diego State, but Frank Solich does a really good job of getting these kids ready. They've allowed 21 points or less 5 times this season. However, they've also given up 45 to Louisiana Lafayette and 39 to Northern Illinois. Nathan Rourke, the numbers are ridiculous. 6.1 yards per carry. That's 8th all-time in the MAC. He's going to have over 10,000 total yards in his career. He's 16th in the FBS in points accounted for with 16.5. I really like Ohio here. The only advantage that I see here is that Nevada's playing on the blue turf, which they're familiar with. But I don't know if it's that much of an advantage here. I think the line is about right, and I think Ohio probably is the play. Maybe consider a first-half play, especially if a lot of those Nevada defensive guys are not playing in that first half.
Matt, we got Saturday, January 4th matchup here. Tulane versus Southern Miss. We're seeing the Green Wave, -7, 56.5 the total here, Matt.
Crazy what we thought about Tulane. They start out the year 5-1. They get that win over Houston. It was the big Thursday night game. They ran that play, the fake kneel play, which I believe I saw AP voted the 8th best play of the year, which I find really odd. But then they've lost 5 of their last 6, and they played down the stretch. They played a ridiculous games. They played Memphis, Navy. They beat Tulsa. Then they lost to Temple, UCF, and SMU. So, Tulane has been battered and bruised. Their numbers are ridiculous down the stretch. Their defense got gashed. All those teams got points on them. Justin McMillan didn't look great. The offensive line didn't block. 4 players entered the transfer portal. Now, granted, some of those guys were backups and bit players, but, this is kind of a chance for them to refresh this time off. Look, Willie Fritz talked about how last year they didn't exactly, handle the time off very well. He changed a few things up, so that's something interesting to consider. On the Southern Miss side, Jack Abraham was not 100% down the stretch, and you could tell. 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions against Florida Atlantic, that final game of the year. Redshirt sophomore receiver Jalen Adams didn't play in the final 3 games of the regular season. Jordan Mitchell has also battled some injuries, so the wide receiving core is a little bit up in the air. The one thing that Southern Miss has is a really good kicker. Freshman Andrew Stein is 18 of 22 as a kicker, and in a game like this, that could be a bit of a factor. 7's a lot here. I think, Drew, 7's a lot. I'm going to watch this game as we get closer because that one, as you said, is a little bit later on to see if this moves off the key number because depending upon which way it moved, If it goes to 7.5, I may look to Southern Miss. If it goes below that key number of 7, maybe tumbles down to 6, I might look to Tulane because they've got that style of offense that could be a little bit tricky for Southern Miss.
Mid-major, Matt, we got Monday, January 6th. This is taking the place of normally would be the national championship time slot. And for whatever reason, we talked about it with Teddy Covers, college football moved it back a full week, which could be a handicapping angle in itself, talking about the national championship game, Clemson versus LSU, which we will hit on. But taking its spot here, a singled-out college football bowl game. In Mobile, Alabama, Miami of Ohio versus Louisiana Lafayette. We're seeing Lafayette, the Ragin' Cajuns, -2 touchdowns here. 54.5 the total. And Matt, little tidbit, in my opinion, team versus team, top to bottom roster, I bet on both of these two teams multiple times throughout the season. And the eye test, so to speak, this is the biggest discrepancy in talent, in my opinion. Lafayette, pretty good team. I mean, outside of the SEC and Appalachian State, they ran the table. Very good ATS versus Miami of Ohio, which, you know, I know they won the MAC and all, but this is a MAC team and a hard fighting team. Chuck Martin's a good coach, but let's face it, talent wise, for all the bowl teams, they're kind of up against it here. Any opinion on which way to bet this one?
Well, as you said, I don't like laying that many points in bowl season. And, yeah, this is a huge talent discrepancy. I'll go quickly on this one. Miami, Ohio's 5 of their wins have come by 7 points or less. This is your prototypical MAC team. You know, Brett Gabbert's not a terrible quarterback, but, I don't know what Miami of Ohio actually does really well. You know, down the stretch, they won, 5 of 6 in the regular season, but they beat Northern Illinois, Kent State, Ohio, Bowling Green, Akron. They're just, I don't know what they do well in this game. I don't know. And with this extra time, both of these coaches, this is their second bowl game, Billy Napier and Chuck Martin. And you're right, Louisiana Lafayette, look, they average over 500 yards per game. They've got 3 players who rush for at least 775 yards per game, per season. Elijah Mitchell's really good. The Calais kid, the Trey Rags is really good. They also have a guy, for the first time in program history, right guard Kevin Dotson, who is first-team All-American on the AP. He's actually said he's putting off his NFL decision until afterwards. He said he thought about going out early, which would have been a big loss, but he said, look, this program means a lot to me, and so I'm going to put off my NFL draft decision until afterwards. Yeah, this is a huge mismatch, Drew. It's such a mismatch, and I know that there's people out there who are going to want to bet this game because it's the only one out there. But I don't think you can bet this one. Maybe you get in early and you hope Lafayette starts early and you go for a first quarter Lafayette bet and hope they start fast and they just wear them down. Or maybe you bet in the second half, depending upon what your halftime score is. You know, maybe Miami, Ohio's hanging around and you think Lafayette blows them out in the second half. You bet down on the second half. But I don't see Miami, Ohio winning this game. This is one of my highest bowl confidence plays straight up because this is such a mismatch that if Lafayette comes focused and if they're ready to go, this game will not be close at all.
Matt, we got the national championship game, but also FCS here. We got James Madison versus North Dakota State, 51.5, -1. That's James Madison laying Saturday, January 11th. FCS championship game. Any quick thoughts here?
We talked about this one. We didn't know the line the last time the podcast came out. I said I'm taking JMU. It opened up as a pick'em. There was 5 times had North Dakota State at -1.5. It got up to 2.5 briefly and then went down. And now James Madison's favored pretty much everywhere. I just think JMU is the best team. I'm getting in on it now. I've already gotten in on it. And for those of you who don't go to the website, that's my pick. I've said it last week. I'll say it again. JMU is just the best team in the country. For the first time in program history, they've got a 1,000-yard rusher, a 1,000-yard receiver. I know it's still early. There could be suspensions, injuries, blah, blah, blah. But JMU is just the deepest team. And I think that the early respect was there for the North Dakota State program, who's been very good. They're very young. I don't know if they can handle this spotlight. There's not a lot of edges either way. They're both really good at everything. I just have watched JMU all season long. I think JMU, when their offense is going, it's really good. I would take JMU up to about, See, this is something we could discuss here real quick, Drew. I would say I like JMU to win, and right now it's 1 in a lot of places. But then at a certain point, I'm looking at the money line because I think there's some value on the money line. When do you start looking at the money line in a situation like that? 2, 2.5? I mean, what's your rule of thumb, you think?
I'm not a big money line guy in most situations, especially at 1 flat. No, I'll stick with it. 1.5. Now I'm starting to be interested. But after about 1.5, I think it gets a little bit too pricey. So I I wish I had more like substance there. But at 1.5, I'm interested. Outside of that number, I don't find myself going towards the money line very much in the mini-map.
So, yeah, right now it's 1, so I would take the 1. If it gets up above 1.5, I think I'm considering the money line. If you want to swallow the juice, I have a lot of faith in JMU in this game. It's going to be back and forth. North Dakota State's probably going to have a lead, but JMU's really good. They run some pace. They can beat you on the ground. They can beat you through the air. There's no angles. There's no nothing. It's just me purely thinking JMU's the better team. And right now, I've got the money line. And it's 1 a lot of places. Take the 1, and then we could talk, and you could tweet me once the line moves if I still like JMU. But I just think they're the better team here, and that's why I'm taking them to win the championship.
All right, Mid-Major Matt, we got the national championship game. It's set. Clemson versus LSU. We're seeing a total of 69.5. Yes, you heard that right. Half a point less than 70. 69.5 in the national championship game. Anywhere from -4.5 to -5.5. At all the books I feel comfortable saying is a legitimate sports book. 4.5 to 5.5 as we're talking right now. Granted, this is December 30th, Monday, about noon Pacific time. Matt, it is an extra week of preparation. Then all the years passed. They moved it back to January 13th. I'm not sure if you have a reason why they moved it back a full week, but also throw it over to you. Any quick thoughts here? I know you'll be back on the podcast before this game kicks off, but anything you wanted to throw out early on in the betting world?
I thought it was interesting, the quick overreaction that came out. Look, we are prisoners of the moment. There was a ton of recency bias in this game when the line first came out. And that thing, I think, got up as high as 6.5. And I think there was one sports book that we don't think is as great as the others that actually got up to 7.5. Look, LSU looks like the best team in the country against Oklahoma. But once again, Oklahoma's defense is not very good. And then, once the snowball kept going and once they didn't call that pass interference, like Oklahoma just basically quit and Joe Burrow looked really good. I think Clemson's got the best set of coordinators in the country. I think Clemson's got the best set of coaches in the country, whether it's Dabo, whether it's Brent Venables. I think with extra time here, Brent Venables figures something out here. Now, as you said, we've got extra time. I want to see what T. Higgins' status is. I want to see what Justin Ross's status is. But, Clemson had some injuries that were a little key in that game against Ohio State. I like Clemson. I think Clemson's the best team in the country. I'm not coming off of that, and I'll certainly change that as we get closer to the game. I'm not playing anything yet. I should have played it 6.5, but I didn't really want to because I'm afraid of some of the injuries Clemson has. But I'm going to watch this line heavily because I like Clemson, and the higher it goes, the more I feel confident in a Clemson play. LSU's great, but I'll take Trevor Lawrence. I'll take Dabo in an underdog situation, and I like Brent Venables as well. And so I just think – I think Clemson at that point, and even at 5.5, I think they're worth a look here.
Do you think it gets to 7?
No, probably not. I think Vegas won't let it get to 7 because unless they're really confident in Clemson, in LSU winning this game and blowing them out, I don't think it gets to 7 because I know that they're going to get a lot of buyback money because there's probably people who probably are middling this thing. Look, it opened at 3. The LSU people jumped right in at 3, 3.5, probably even at 4. If it gets to 6.5, 7, Drew, don't you think that's a perfect middle opportunity to take Clemson, and then you're kind of setting yourself up nicely for the game?
Yeah, no, it would, and you're right. I doubt it does either, but heck, you never know with these big matchups and what Circa came out right after. And I saw it on Twitter. Unfortunately, I'm traveling here in Florida, so legally couldn't get down on it. But Circa popped out at a 3, and it got popped within a little bit. Now, of course, we're seeing 5.5s kind of market wide here. So missed out on that opportunity. But Matt, man, throw it back over to you. Great information, great analysis, guys. Watching, we appreciate. Segment 2 kind of really went off. We appreciate all the comments, everybody reaching out on Twitter, the comments on YouTube. Feel free to write on the bottom of this one. If you like the content, please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. But Matt, throw it over to you. Anything else you wanted to throw out there, man?
Yeah, just so because people I know that I enjoy all the comments here. Even the guy who's pointed out the one game we got wrong last week because I know that there was some guy in the YouTube. I appreciate all the comments. We try and do what we can. I'm here to give information. I give you picks when I have them, and I'm just trying to educate the listener. And I know, Drew, you do a great job of this too. We just educate here. We're here to give you information and make you the sports bettor that completely understands all these games and why the numbers are the way they are. And I think we're trying to do as good of a job as we can with that.
All right, Matt. Great stuff. Follow him on Twitter at MidMajorMatt. His packages, sportsmemo.com. All kinds of different options there. 1 year all access, rest of the season. College basketball aficionado. Check them out. 3-day all access for a discount here using the special coupon code for this podcast, MMM29 at checkout. We'll give it to you for less than $10 a day, just $29. His 3-day all access. Mid-Major Matt, sportsmemo.com. Coupon code MMM29 at checkout. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets. We'll talk later in the week.